Frustrating evening at East End, London Stadium. West Ham United 1, Watford 0. We knew today it was going to be a tough one. But I don't think the night could have gone much worse. Not just from our perspective, but also from the teams around us. I mean, it's even more frustrating that we were not outplayed. We were not an absolute car crash. But these kind of games where the points squirm away from your grasp, it is a real kick in the teeth, and it's just a sign of the lack of quality, the lack of confidence. But chances, Watford, chances. And we just either don't make that final killer pass, or we don't have the players that are confident enough or good enough to be clinical. We had that chance in the first half for Juraj Kucka. You know, great cross, but the header's got to be at least on target. And Cresswell's not marking him, but he can't get it on target. Second half, King does fantastically well, showing that endeavour again. But then, after all of that, Cleverly puts it over. And Cleverly had another decent opportunity, absolutely whacked a shot, trying to bend it into the top right corner, and Fabianski makes a save. And then after that, Josh King it's just some poor passing in general, and the forward looked so desolate today. You know, King looked awful at times. Dennis looked so tired and lethargic. It was just like, first half, I don't know, we looked a different team and we looked like we were really up for it. Second half, we really were just so slow, and West Ham didn't have to do that much to get the victory. And honestly, it wasn't a memorable game, but that's the problem, right? We don't have to have memorable games. We have to stay in games, and that's what we did do for a long time. We knew this was going to be a game that West Ham were going to come at us. They were going to come at us hard and fast, and we were going to try and stop that flow and then get something on the counter-attack. And to an extent, that worked tonight. You know, we kept it tight, but it's a lack of quality from us in the final third. When we do go 1-0 down, which is so frustrating to concede a goal of that nature, which we'll get to, you know, it's a series of unfortunate turn of events that, you know, from one moment you're looking all right at 0-0, you're thinking, okay, let's try and nick this. We've played quite well in parts. And then once you're 1-0 down, it's like all the heads have dropped and we just can't seem to get any sort of rhythm back, and we just look so disjointed. So, it's just so frustrating. Let's talk about it then, shall we? We knew coming into this, it was a big one. Of course, after that point against Burnley, we had something to build on. But, you know, we weren't given the easiest of fixtures to kind of carry that momentum. West Ham have been amazing this season, pushing for Champions League football. And they are very strong at the London Stadium. So we knew all of this coming into it. But you had to be a bit careful, a bit conservative, because West Ham can, on their day, hit goals past you. We saw that in the reverse fixture. But also with Sarr, obviously still yet to come back, he will be back on Saturday against Brighton. We did have Dennis back. So there are some missing cogs, but we're starting to get a few more gaps filled. And Dennis today just wasn't really in the game. And that's very, very frustrating. We've got to utilise him like we did in the earlier part of the season. And also, it feels like our strikers don't have that telepathic connection. You know, you talk about strike forces and that 4-4-2 that Hodgson likes to set. 2 banks of 4 and then the 2 strikers as well. But didn't feel like King and Dennis were on the same wavelength tonight. You know, so many times King would work so hard just to get past the defence, get past Dawson, get past Cresswell. But then there'd be no one to support and he'd lose the ball because where was Dennis? He was running behind, and it was one of those. And the amount of times we tried to feed the ball quickly into King's feet, and you felt, yeah, that's a good intention and some good passes. Ultimately, we are still making too many misplaced passes, and that is annoying because you just start to build some kind of rhythm going up the pitch, and then you lose it needlessly. And there were a few occasions where that pass was right into the final third. It was a fantastic ball put across, I remember, in the first half, and a great opportunity for Josh King. And, he's very close to the goal. If he just takes it down and turns and swivels and shoots, then it could be a real moment of glory for Watford. But unfortunately, he just can't bring the ball down, and before he, can, it's cleared away. And it's just those moments where there's lapses in quality, there's lapses in sharpness, and we're punished. And, the goal was just such a frustrating one to concede because, firstly, you shouldn't be letting Jarrod Bowen, a man who's been in unbelievable form for the Hammers this season, that much space, right? It's as simple as that. He gets the ball from Lanzini and he just dribbles forward. And you've got to close down quicker. But there's an element of it to Samir is trying to do the right thing. He's trying to block it. But it's like, well, Foster's almost committed too early. He doesn't know where the ball is. And I feel like when West Ham were on the attack there, Foster had to get back into his goal. So he wasn't ready 100%. Now, of course, you can only be so ready to try and, respond if you have to readjust your positioning. And, he did to most of the extent. But to some extent, it could be argued that he wasn't quite in the right frame of mind when that deflection came in, right? Because he was just starting to pedal back and get ready for it. And I don't think he saw that deflection coming. And it's just like he's almost gone the wrong way. And as he's going down, it's like he's just, you could tell he has to, in his mind, think, oh, I've got to commit one way or the other. And he does that, and it's just agonising where he just sees by his leg just the ball trickling past him. It's so unfortunate. It's a goal for Jarrod Bowen, but it could have been given as a Samir own goal. It's just, I feel for the lad Samir because, his performances have been quite good. Again, Hassane Kamara, fantastic. I thought today, just what he gives us going forward is so important. He did it at Nice in France, but he's doing it here as well, is offering great attacking threat. And that's what we haven't really had a lot of in the left-back position. Messina shown it in flashes in previous seasons, but not really enough consistently. And now that kind of does allow that kind of level of attacking balance on both flanks with Kiko there as well. But the argument would be, should we be going back to a more defensively solid back four? And that's where Jeremy Ngakia comes in. He did, of course, come on tonight for his appearance against his former team. I wondered if we might start on Ngakia tonight, just because, Kiko was quite decent, I thought, against Burnley, but there were elements where we were just getting caught out and, Cornet was cutting in inside and we weren't stopping the shots. But tonight it felt like, I don't know, Kiko was good, but we always looked at a bit of a worry when West Ham broke, but that wasn't that often, right? So as I mentioned, first half at least, that wasn't that often. We started well. We imposed ourselves on that West Ham United team, and as I mentioned with that Kutska chance, we really did have the first 25 or so minutes. We looked the better team for sure, and that's the frustrating thing with Watford. We can do it. We can show that promise, but then do we create enough chances in that spell? No. And do we actually take advantage of West Ham's sloppiness and actually get a notch on the scoreline? No. So it's almost like it's an effort, but it's a bit of a wimpy effort because it's not enough to really do much. And West Ham do get their goal, but as I mentioned, the first half was very little on chances. It was just one of those games you felt that the first goal was going to be big, and we've said this time and time again. Watford concede the first goal often, and we saw it in the game against Norwich when that third goal went in. We were completely dead. And to be fair, the Kutska own goal was at a similar time to the game today in terms of around the 75th minute ish. So it was kind of like that late in the game. It's just such a blow. You want to keep it to 0-0 right till the end and nick something like that Newcastle draw. But talking of Newcastle, I mean, Everton, oh my gosh. We saw it when we needed Everton to get points against Norwich, and they absolutely, truly bottled it. And now they've done it again. Thanks, Everton, for not helping us out. I mean, Frank Lampard's supposed to be the next big thing, right? What's that about? He beats Brentford, who, aren't in the Premier League in terms of that fixture in the FA Cup. It's not relevant for us. And then back when it's relevant for us, they decide to just not turn up. What's that about? I mean, Kieran Trippier, and also I was gutted as well for my FPL. Because I'm not going to lie, I chose the wrong Kieran. I chose Kieran Tierney. I mean, it might still come to fruition. But Trippier, I mean, free kick, what a goal. And what an absolute mess in terms of that clean sheet record for us. I mean, we get the clean sheet, good. We looked much more solid against Burnley, and you thought, okay, we'll probably not keep a clean sheet tonight. But when you look so kind of in the game, not necessarily, as I say, the second half was a bit more even, West Ham were a bit better, but that kind of game, to lose it 1-0, scoring West Ham their goal in 68th minute, it's like, well, that could have been on another day 1-0 in the first half, as I mentioned with some of those chances. So, yeah, really, really frustrating. And Newcastle beating Everton 3-1, I mean, you just feel like that's just a real kick in the teeth, because Newcastle now, outside the bottom three, they are just buying their way to safety. And it's like, well, what were we to expect? Because a Saudi takeover, it's like, well, what can we do from our kind of club size? There is nothing we can do, and it's like the power's been taken out of our hands. And then Burnley, I mean, blooming Burnley, like, they're just one of those teams that frustrate you. They don't play attractive football always, but they get the job done. And I don't think that Burnley game, seeing as it was Hodgson's first, to see that 0-0 draw was a welcome sight based on the turbulence we had before that. Obviously, in hindsight, once all the matches have been played, you say, oh, we should have beaten Burnley. But that was just at a position where a clean sheet was literally essential, right? We hadn't got it all season. But now, of course, this is the week that Burnley choose to actually score a goal, and it's against Manchester United. I mean, you can't rely on Man United either. Like, they just mess things up whenever, someone needs them to do something. So, I don't know. It's just awful. It really is. And I'm not giving up. The fans shouldn't be giving up, because the quicker the fans give up, the quicker the players will. And that will leak onto the pitch, and that will really condemn us, right? There is still opportunities, but they're feeling like we're not really taking them. We still haven't really this season, apart from maybe Newcastle, a game where, obviously, this was not really one of those, but a game like the Norwich one, like the Burnley one, perhaps, but you still got a point. We haven't really ever this season, other than Norwich under Xisco Munoz, a game that we really look at and say 3 points. We've not done that. It's been the loss, the defeat, the loss, and a point there, here or there. It's like, well, you're really not going to get enough points from the winnable games if you do that. So unless we just decide to turn up against the big teams, which I don't see happening anytime soon. I mean, we've got Brighton next, that they're looking quite decent. Neil Maupay is definitely scoring against us. He always does. And I mean, I want to see a bit more of a style. I'm not saying Hodgson's got to play 4-4-2, amazing football. I'm just saying, I get what we're trying to do. We're in a desperate situation. It's kind of like, just keep the games tight, see what we can do. And that's the right way to go. I agree with that for sure. And hopefully we can start to get a few more points in a bit of a run going. But it feels like still, I'm not saying the players aren't trying, because we really tried tonight. And that's the other thing, is the effort was there, just not the quality. But if there is a bit more of a structure to our style of play, then you maybe see, a bit more of a belief collectively from the players in what we're doing. And I'm not saying that's Hodgson's fault. He's had very little time to try and implement that. But the players have got to listen to him and Ray, and just think, look, we know what we have to do. We have to execute it better rather than not show the attitude, because the attitude is there in the last few games, but it's just lacking in that quality. So we saw the lineups, we saw how we were lining up, and I was pretty happy with it, to be honest. I came into this thinking I would be buzzing with a draw, to be honest, because West Ham are a good side. They got some great players. But we saw the lineup of Foster in goal, then King, Cleverley, Kamara, Cathcart, Sissoko as well, always on the captaincy, Kiko Femenia, Samir, Dennis, Kutska and Kayembe. So a couple of changes made by Roy Hodgson. Obviously, Dennis came in after serving suspension in the Burnley game. That's fair enough. And also we knew Ismaila wouldn't be fit for this one. Or I say fit, he wouldn't have recovered in time or travelled in time after the celebration of winning the AFCON tournament. So well done to him. But we had, Ngaku obviously on the bench. Loser as well. Still hasn't really been getting a look in, despite the fact he was available, I think, for the Burnley game. He didn't get brought on from the bench. And again, today just didn't have a say in the affairs. So, yeah, it's an odd one. I'm not going to lie, but I say I didn't have a say in the affairs. He did come on late on, but what I mean is he didn't really have enough time to really make an impact. He came on with about, I think, 10 minutes or something to go. And Pedro came on as well. He looked lively, but it was weird because it felt like we hadn't really had a strategy to our transfers, to our substitutions tonight, because we didn't make any for 76 minutes, and then all of a sudden, there you go, full throttle, 3 substitutions when we're 1-0 down. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, I like that. Trying to attack what we've got time left, but is that really going to make a difference with that little time left? So yeah, Ngaka came on for Kiko, like for like, was a bit of a, yeah, all right, but is that going to do anything sort of change? And Pedro trying to just give us something, but it was one of those games, it just felt like we were struggling. Can I just say as well, West Ham, they really need to look at themselves and say that they've done wrong by playing Kurt Zouma tonight. In the light of the recent news of kicking his cat, I mean, I do not understand what West Ham's excuse is, right? They said they're going to deal with it internally. Well, that you've just shown you haven't dealt with it internally by even naming him in the squad, let alone starting him. You've got on the bench Issa Diop, perfectly fine to play. You've got Ben Johnson, perfectly fine to play. It's not like you've got any excuse, but you're playing basically an animal hater. Like, I don't understand it, right? But anyway, what West Ham do is what West Ham do. The other thing is, of course, was Ken Sema on the bench. Obviously, didn't look amazing against Burnley. The only thing with that was, obviously, we were playing a 4-4-2, so we didn't really have a winger. We didn't really have a winger on either side. We had King and Dennis up top. We had kind of 4 holding midfielders. So maybe that was part of the issue. We didn't kind of have those willing runners to cross in balls. But then you saw that with Kamara at times, trying to cross those balls in. But it's almost like he was the only one doing it, and Kiko got forward a few times. But also there was, I think, a chance quite halfway through the first half where it was a good ball out to Kiko, and you just think, all right, this is it now. You got the attacking threat, and all he does is he tries to find a man. I get it, but you got to be unselfish. You got to be selfish sometimes, because I think Kiko was in a good position. If he just blasts it at Fabianski near post, then let's just see what happens. Cannon off the defender and go in, or Fabianski slips it through his hands. Something like that. Of course, it just happened to be that Fabianski came back tonight. I think he had COVID or something like that. But my point is, just go for it, right? Don't be tentative. Don't try and make a pass just because you have to. You feel like you have to give the ball, but the player is too crowded out in the box. Just go for it. Have a shot. And be brave and go for it. But look, Kayembe was taken off cleverly as well. I don't really understand why Cleverley is not playing the full 90, because at least, all right, he didn't have a great shot with that effort, but he's showing the passion. Like in the build up to that chance he made, he did well to keep the ball going. It was a big stretch on, got a toe on it, and King did such great work to set up the chance. But Cleverley does, he really encapsulates the passion that we need in this relegation battle. Maybe it's a question of the quality, but I still think he's a very solid outfit. It's just that defence needs a bit of a confidence boost, and I don't know where we're going to get it from ultimately. But look, we thought we'd seen it against Burnley. It was a tough game tonight. We knew that coming into it, but it's just frustrating to lose it in that way, I think. So in terms of selection, I think that was fair enough starting Kutska, because he looked good against Burnley. The same with Kayembe, I'd say. I mean, Kayembe was bang average v Burnley, but I still think he was right to bring him in. The 4 midfielders, though, I just think maybe that was too negative. I don't know. Maybe it's just inviting West Ham to take us on. I just think if we'd have put in someone like Cucho, I mean, it's controversial not starting Joao Pedro first and foremost. I think he is that kind of player that gives us that pizzazz, that X factor, and we didn't really have much of that tonight. Unfortunately, as much as we tried to put some passes together and string some stuff together, there wasn't a lot of that going on. And as I mentioned, Dennis was really not on his night tonight. So yeah, you kind of felt Dennis coming back would really, really boost us, and he just wasn't really there. King had chances, but I think we needed Ismail Assar back desperately. I think that's the ultimate chance, the ultimate say of it, because what Kiko is brilliant at is linking up with Sarr, and maybe when Kiko does have that link up, he's a much better attacking outlet. But also, do we need a more solid right back in Jeremy Ngakia? Probably. So I don't know. It was just the goal deflected off Samir, very frustrating, and it's like, I mean, they did hit the post before West Ham in the first half. I think it was Ben Rama with a chance, and also a chance for Souček with a header over. But look, West Ham weren't spectacular tonight. We know that. And it was almost like the result of the Leeds game back in match week 7. It was like, well, 1-0 lost away from home. We weren't brilliant. West Ham also weren't brilliant like Leeds weren't that night. But we've lost, and that's real annoying reality when we see Burnley pick up a point and Newcastle win. And there was a point in the night that Burnley and Newcastle were behind as well. An own goal from Mason Holgate. Absolutely amazing that Everton just keep scoring own goals. But yeah, then we see, an own goal from Jamal Lascelles, I think. But then, of course, an own goal from Mason Holgate set up by Lascelles. It's crazy stuff. But anyway, the point is, Everton just can't seem to keep a lead, and they really can't bail us out. And you kind of felt it was as well, that draw would have been a great result from the Everton-Newcastle game. Keep Everton down there, but Everton are really being down there. You feel for them right now. They're really getting dragged into it. So that's at least maybe a positive. But you've got to say, we wanted Everton, if any team won tonight, to be them. Definitely last resort, not Newcastle. Newcastle have won. So, I mean, yeah, just not getting enough shots on target. That's the fact of it. I mean, Kutska, he has good moments, right? But he has kind of dodgy moments as well. So it's kind of 6 and 1 of half a dozen of the other. I don't know. It's difficult. It is really difficult. It's just lucky. It's a lucky goal. Like I'm not saying West Ham were awful tonight. They weren't. We weren't that awful either. But I thought we were better first half. Maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of people will agree with that. We started from the off. We looked up for it, and West Ham really didn't. And they really got away with that to an extent because we didn't put the chances away. But just not enough chances. Like when you look at the stats from the game, I mean, obviously yellow cards, none of them in the game, which is to be fair, a bit of a shocker. We usually at least get one player booked. But gone are the days of Jose Holovas and all that. But yeah, looking at the game, I mean, one shot on target is not enough. 6 shots, 35% possession. I mean, even West Ham weren't spectacular. They only had 2 more shots on target, 9 shots, only 3 more in total. 17 tackles compared to West Ham 16, 28 clearances to 13 West Ham, 6 corners, 5 for West Ham, 1 offside, 3 for West Ham, and 6 fouls conceded. So we do give away silly free kicks, and it was a good thing that I suppose that West Ham didn't, take advantage of that. I mean, our record away from home is not been great. In games against West Ham, we've had only 3 away wins, and that's not really enough. And tonight was not enough. As much as I wanted to see something tonight, it wasn't there, and I think we've got to take this one on the chin, unfortunately, and just try and win in front of the home fans. Hopefully, it will be a good reception despite the negative of that result for Roy Hodgson on Saturday, because we really need the rookery, I should say, to be rocking. And as I mentioned before, the fans need to get behind Roy and Ray. I know it's going to be a tough ask. We look like, with a result like tonight and results going against us, that feels like things are feeling pretty bleak, and a championship season is a real possibility. But we can only do what we can do, right? Life is what it is, and we can only just try and get as many points as we can. It's just, to concede a goal like that is very, very frustrating. Outside the box, it just rolled right in. And I just think cleverly unlucky tonight, but really should be doing better. I don't know. There was a chance for King towards the end. Like, you just got to be better than that. I think we need to be trying to give these players a bit of confidence, not nail into them too much. Constructive criticism is the right word, but it is depressing. It is depressing. I'm not going to lie. We all want the best for this club, and even when times are tough, we just got to support the lads. It's as simple as that. We got to move on. We were unlucky, in my opinion, tonight, and just a frustrating match to lose after controlling a lot of it in the first half. Just got to kill off teams much sooner. But Pedro, as I mentioned, was I think a positive. Looked quite good when he came on. So maybe Team v Brighton, start Pedro. I think maybe drop King. Is that too harsh? I think I could see King starting again, but maybe we put in Sarr and have a front three of like Dennis, Pedro, Sarr. I don't know. You could see Loser come in as well. That would be a nice welcome sight. And I just don't see how he changes that back four. I think Kiko offers so much if Sarr is fit, and Kamara as well looked good at times tonight. So it's difficult to give him out of the match because, as I mentioned, we weren't great tonight. We were a little bit frustrating. But if I have to say anyone, I think I'm going to say Kamara again. For the second match in a row, Kamara, you are my man of the match because he does like to whip in good crosses and he does, get stuck in. He doesn't mess about, and we want to see that commitment from everyone. So thanks for watching my match review of West Ham United 1, Watford 0. West Ham into the top 4 now, and frustrating game, but what a season Jared Bowen is having. I mean, it's his 7th league goal of the season, and it's just a wicked deflection. So he then, of course, was denied by Foster late on when he touched his shot onto the post. And, Det Foster, he is still our best goalie out of backman, I've got to say. But Souček obviously had that header in the first half, and we really did step things up at times in the game to rescue a point, but it was just not enough. So yeah, we dropped down to 19th. We really need to just win against Brighton. It's as simple as that. We really thought we would hopefully get nearer to Newcastle tonight. We were sitting in 18th before the game. And what do Newcastle do? They jump above us. They send us down a place, and we really need to rectify the errors of that reverse fixture loss to Brighton at the MX back in August. So come on, you Orns. We keep the faith. It's a depressing road, but we have to keep on fighting, believing, and improving on that training ground. Thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Get your thoughts on the game in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.